Chapter 39. Off with there. The Queen of Hearts smiled benevolently and held her hands up for silence. Thank you, she crowed over the guests, for being here today. I know I always look forward to our annual gathering, and as you know, this year is particularly special. The Queen cleared her throat. Red looked at Chester, hoping he might have some sort of plan, but he met her gaze and then cast his eyes down. Ace shrugged a little and gave Red a helpless look. They were surrounded by the nobility, flanked by soldier cards. There was nothing any of them could do. The Wonderland Tea Ceremony is an important event to celebrate our fine nation and to remember what sets us apart from our neighbors, the Queen of Hearts continued. The smile faded from her face. Power. Power allows us to best weaker opponents. Oregon, its inadequate soldiers, even Alice herself back in the day. And as your leader, I have taken on great responsibility to enforce order and righteous rule, to ensure that nothing threatens our power. In my efforts, I have never trusted anyone but myself. No one, that is, but my daughter, Red. The Queen glanced at Red, but didn't meet her eyes. She turned back to the crowd. I hope it hasn't been a mistake, she said the last part more quietly, perhaps too low for the nobility to hear. In raising her, I have taught her everything I know, preparing her to be an illustre and powerful princess of Wonderland. This was the year I decided that she was ready to give her first royal decree, to start making her mark on Wonderland. The crowd murmured. The recent scandal couldn't have been lost on them. Red felt glued to her chair, unable to move as the spectacle unfolded like a strange nightmare. Yes, yes, the Queen of Hearts said lightly, waving her hand. We all have distractions in our youth. We all make mistakes. Oh, wait, she grinned wickedly. We don't. The crowd snickered, though Red thought of the Duchess and all the other nobility who were there in the garden by no choice of their own, laughing on cue because they feared for their lives. Red knew better. The Queen of Hearts approached the platform, nearly giddy. And so, on this commemorative day, a demonstration of power would be fitting. Power over weakness. Power over any little nuisance that might distract my daughter from her full potential as the next ruler of Wonderland. And I know you do love my unparty tricks. Red felt her heartbeat pounding wildly in her throat. Chester lifted his chin, looking not at the Queen but steadily at Red. Ace took a breath and gave her a tiny smile. It happened almost instantaneously. The Queen lifted her hands and let out a cry, some words in an ancient complex language that she had never taught Red, and light exploded from her palms. Red screamed, but the sound caught in her chest as though all the air had been sucked out of her. It was Ace's transformation that she noticed first. Suddenly, it was not he who stood there on the platform, but another general soldier card clad in red iron armor, heavy staff in hand, and silver helmet obscuring his face. The badge on his chest was a scarlet A over a big, terrible heart. Ace? Red breathed. Behind her, the crowd was cheering, roaring wildly. She ran to his side and touched his elbow. He didn't even look at her. Ace turned as though she wasn't there and crossed the platform to the Queen. He pressed his fist to his chest and knelt before her. No, Red said. Ace, very well. The Queen of Hearts patted him on the helmet. He rose and disappeared into the ranks of the other soldier cards on the terrace. Impossible to distinguish from one another. Red's mind reeled. As she stood, swaying on the spot, she realized there was a cat on the platform. It swiveled its head from side to side, bewildered, covered in fluffy chestnut fur. It can't be, Red choked. The cat, Chester, turned his strangely bright eyes to meet hers as if he understood. He gave her a very uncat-like toothy grin. Then slowly, before Red's eyes, his tail disappeared, and then his legs, until all that was left was a disembodied smile that fluttered away in the breeze. Red felt her heart breaking into 2, 10, 20 pieces. They were gone, so quickly it was as though they had never been there at all. Hands and fists shaking, Red looked at her mother. The queen was laughing lightly, as though an immense weight had lifted off her shoulders. "You lied," Red said. "You said you wouldn't hurt them." "Well, darling," said the queen, sounding like her old self again, "I didn't take off their heads, did I?"